when I don't listen to it, life kicks the shit out of me.
Ty Franklin is a functional nutritional therapy practitioner and metabolic balance coach, helping men and women over 40 overcome chronic fatigue, toxicity, and burnout. His journey from corporate stress to cellular healing led to the creation of his signature Dominate method, a holistic blueprint for transformation. You have a fascinating story. This is super interesting. I want you to tell us, first of all, how you got involved in this.
My health started rapidly declining out of nowhere. Chronic fatigue, chronic pain. They just gave me a bunch of prescriptions. And then that's when my health went from bad to worse. It really started to decline. Not only did my confidence, everything go down, I lost everything. Lost my houses, my properties, money. I had a wake-up call from, I guess, you can call it intuition, higher self. Saved my life listening to it.
Wow, it's huge. What we eat and what we put in our body is so incredibly important.
Why can't I still help people with health, but at the same time, why can't I also tell, life impacting stories?
Hello and welcome to Radical TV. I'm Shawna Smith. Ty Franklin is joining me here today. He is a functional nutritional therapy practitioner and certified metabolic balance coach who helps men and women over the age of 40 overcome chronic fatigue, metabolic dysfunction, and toxicity through personalized whole foods, cellular detox, personalized physician grade, and supplemental protocols and spiritual healing. Hello, Ty. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Shawna. Thanks for having me.
Good. It's great to be here. You have a fascinating story. This is super interesting. I want you to tell us, first of all, how you got involved in this.
I got involved. It wasn't a plan. It was more, I got sick. And I felt my health started rapidly declining out of nowhere. Some of the things I was experiencing all of a sudden was chronic fatigue, chronic pain, inability to move. I mean, my muscle mobility was locking. My muscles were locking up, migraines and whatnot. So I went through the process. Pretty much what most people do is they schedule a doctor's appointment, in which I went through that whole process. And although they couldn't determine what it was, they believed it was some type of viral, gastrointestinal viral infection. They just gave me a bunch of prescriptions. And then that's when my health went from bad to worse. It really started to decline. And I had a wake-up call after about 3 weeks of seeing the specialist, taking all the medications. I had a wake-up call from, I guess, you can call it intuition, higher self, that led me to read the inserts of all the medications with the side effects. And that's when I connected the dots that's when my health started to decline. I was better off actually not going to the doctor and just letting my body's natural immunity deal with it. Of course, I didn't know that at the time, but once I realized that I had a choice to make, I could listen to my intuition, higher self combined with common sense and stop taking the medications. But the other side to that is, look, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what am I going to do because I'm still sick. But I trusted that higher self, and it reminded me that I'm safe. So I was safe to make that choice and that decision. Thank the doctor, although he wasn't very happy about my decision to take my chances on my own. But I knew better to trust this guide I've had since I was a kid. That's literally, like I said, it saved my life listening to it, saved other people's lives. When I don't listen to it, life kicks the shit out of me. Let's just put it to you that way. So I knew, even though I had no idea what to do and I was still sick, that's what I was guided to do, was to discontinue that. The next day, went to the barbershop, hadn't been there in a while. Barber introduced me to an herbalist who he said helped him. Guy working out of his home. He did a process called iridology, which I didn't know what the heck this was, but he was able to, he called out challenges like migraine headaches I've had since I was a kid. And I thought that was normal. And he's like, no. He called this out and I never told him that. And I'm like, how did you, he gave me some herbals to cleanse my liver, help cleanse the colon and the blood. And within 2 days, I not only recovered, I felt better than I did before I ever gotten sick. And I'm like, there's something to this. So I called him back and I'm like, thank you so much. But how were you able to do this? You're just an herbalist working out of home. You're not a doctor. How did you able to? And this doctor's a specialist, couldn't help me. Not once did they mention anything about herbs, detoxification, toxicity, nothing. It was just about diagnosing and prescribing. And he said, come on over and we'll talk about it. And so he gave me a book. He gave me some books on herbs, but he gave me a book called Murder by Injection by Eustace Mullins, who was a whistleblower in some of the 3-letter agencies. And I read this book and I got pissed off, but I got pissed off because I started seeing a different point of view from what we told healthcare is, as opposed to what I feel it really is mainly, instead of being healthcare, I feel like it's more about sick care. So this was in the early 90s, no internet. I went to the library, got me every book I could on herbs and anything holistic, and I just became a student of it and tried to help as many people as I could for free, just because it changed my life. Because then I realized accountability, my health as an adult, as a grown up, your health is your responsibility first. You still seek out guidance from, practitioners, healthcare providers, but at the end of the day, you still have to make the decision because it's your body and you have to live with that. So that accountability opened my eyes, and I've been involved in some shape, form, or fashion in holistic health, whether it's going to a traditional Chinese herbalist who taught me about, or in between his customers, his clients, once or twice a month on a weekend, he would teach me about Chinese herbs and what they were for and how it related to the body and the different seasons and meridians. And then from there, I started meeting other people in nutrition, chiropractors that were into nutrition, and other practitioners. And I experimented on myself. And then then other people would ask me to help them, and I would just write something, do the research, write it up and say, look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice, but this is what I researched. See what you think. So that's kind of got me on this path. I was going to be a chiropractor, but a chiropractor talked me out of it at that time because he said it was difficult dealing with insurance, and people don't see chiropractor. A lot of them don't see them as real doctors, and there's this battle. And so I shifted and I went into a career of IT in corporate America as a IT engineer. And even doing that, on the side, I still did something involving holistic health. But in 2017, I decided, let me really get serious. And I went to NTA, which is Nutritional Therapy Association, and got training and got certified as a functional nutritional therapist practitioner, still working in corporate. That was 2016, 2017. And it was very stressful because I'm working full time, commuting, doing the school, trying to take care of a family. And I remember in 2017, early on, I woke up, thought I was having a heart attack, and I was having a panic attack, heart palpitations, tinnitus in my left ear, just ringing, and extreme vertigo where I fell out of bed. I couldn't even walk on my wife had to help me to the bathroom. And I'm like, what in the hell would this come from? I couldn't drive for over a week on my own. I mean, it was just like, what's going on? So I tuned in, and it was just like, a lot of it was stress induced because I'm doing corporate and I'm making, good money, but it's not what I want to do. I want to do this, but then I have to start from scratch. And how am I going to really help? And so there was this thing going on. I went to a naturopathic doctor who had me on some detoxification. And then I was like, you know what? I know what to do. So I stopped going there and I tuned in. I figured out what foods I should be eating, changed my diet, and I knew the right supplements. And I recovered. I pretty much recovered for the most part, other than for the most part, I completely recovered other than some physical. I had neck issues and stuff like that, which I was dealing with. So
Wow.
that experience and working around so many people in corporate America and supporting executives and seeing how stressed they are, right? They smile and they're saying a lot of this stuff, but a lot of them are dealing with diseases. They're on medications. They have, whether type 2 heart, hypertension, all these things. And they're caught up in this whole cycle of commuting, putting on a mask, right, at work, doing all this stuff, getting back, supporting their family, and it becomes a cycle. And I started noticing that I was getting away from myself, and I can see that in other people. So it's like, okay, you know what can I do to contribute, to give back, especially for men and women, high achieving men and women, and just these who are kind of stuck in this thing, and if people enjoy doing what they do, that's great. I'm a very technical person, but I'm at the same time, I'm creative, right? Most engineers are linear. I'm not that. I'm out of the box. That's how I was able to function in corporate America so long. But got to the point to where the only people I'm serving doing this is myself, or paycheck, and the company. I know I've experienced a lot with holistic health, and I've helped people. That's what I should be doing. So that's when I kind of made when COVID hit, I was still working for corporate, trying to build my practice. And it was a battle. It was a tug of war of, I'm putting a lot of energy into this job, but there's people that I can help that I'm not able to help because of this. So I made a decision in the end of 2023. I walked away from my corporate job, which I'd been there for 6+ years, to pursue, to dig deeper into this and kind of get to know myself more, a lot better. That's in between there. I got some more training and certifications and different things. But that's what led me to become a functional nutritional therapist.
Yeah. And you have a method that you call Dominate. Tell us about that.
Okay. Dominate is just a conglomerate of, when I got into holistic health in the early 90s, I kept notepads of just notes. So it's kind of like a database on paper until I got a computer in the mid 90s and I started transferring that. And I kept notes of things that worked for me, things that worked for other people, and things that did not work. To this day, I still have some of those notes. But I took my experience of when I got sick and recovered. I took the mindset, I took what I was eating. I took all that stuff and I put together the Dominate program. And I'll break down. It's like I guess I'll say it's an acronym, but Dominate the D stands for detox and defend. Detoxification is so important. And we live in a toxic world. The air we breathe, the water, the food, the chemicals. And so I believe it's a requirement that we know this and that we are doing some level of detoxification. Light detoxification, maybe once or twice a year, to do more of a heavy detoxification, which is what I've done for years. And I've helped other people do that. So the D stands for detox and defend, flushing out toxins, eliminating inflammatory triggers, and fortifying your immune system. The O stands for optimizing metabolic mastery. The way that I measure a person's metabolic health is I do a specific type of blood lab, and I take the results from the blood lab. It's looking at to see if where your metabolism is and the health of your metabolism. And from there, combined with your health history and your health goals, I put together a 100% whole food personalized meal plan for you. So there's no one meal plan that fits everyone. It could be a husband and wife. It could be siblings. They're going to have two different, because they're unique bio-individuals, and that's what it's based off of. It's based off giving you what your biology calls for. And that's just through years of trial and error, trying every popular diet under the sun, working with people, looking at the science behind it, and then also looking at the genetics. I just started doing genetic testing. In 2019, I got my genetics tested, and man, my eyes opened, because I learned certain things about me, about my genetics that made sense and connected the dots. And I also learned which supplements work. The supplements I should be taking are X, Y, and Z, not these over here, to help my body. And so going back to the optimize metabolic mastery, understanding that and giving that to a client, like this is the food, just these are the foods that are best for you, for your biology. This is how you eat, not just what you eat, but how you eat. And it's managed by 8 rules. And as a result of that, one of the positive side effects is that every person that ever worked with loses weight, the right weight, just body fat. That's the O. Moving on to the M, and dominant is maximize nutritional precision. Again, no guesswork. I'm a huge believer in testing, don't guess. So I pretty much test through using blood labs. I mentioned genetic testing. I also do muscle testing if necessary. I can do that in person. I can do that remotely. And bioenergetic testing, which is one of my favorite ways of testing energetics and different types of things. And then developing a plan from that. These are the supplements. These are the foods you should eat. These are the foods that you probably should stay away from. And this is the recommended amount of supplements you should take, the dosage. Not prescribing, but just giving recommendations based on that individual's bio individuality. Okay, and moving on to the I, ignite cellular energy. There's a lot of talk these days about mitochondria and the health of mitochondria of the cell, the food for the cells. That's very important. So that's also, I also integrate that. The N stands for nourish with purpose. You're not just eating just to eat, right? You're not just eating this food. There's a purpose. There's a relationship between you and your food. A lot of people have poor relationships with their food, or they eat when they're stressed and they eat the wrong types of foods. First of all, why are you stressed? What's that? Is there an imbalance there? And so I look into that based on the testing and the process. Then we have A stands for activate functional movement. My first passion and love was fitness. I always wanted to put on muscles naturally. So I worked out for years before I got into holistic health. And then later on, I became a personal trainer. And I helped a lot of people. I worked with a lot of professional entrepreneurs, high achievers who were under a lot of stress, who was diagnosed with certain things. So I learned how to tune in for them, and that not all workouts fit everyone, not all routines that I was seeing other personal trainers doing. It's like, I'm going to develop a unique plan for you, and not just exercise and go to the gym. Functional movement means moving the right way. That could be taking walks. It could be yoga. It could be some of the things that I'm into, like Qigong and Tai Chi, right? Those are healthy movement in your body versus being sedentary. And I'm guilty of this. In corporate America, I sat in front of a computer for so many years, for 20 plus years. And that is not good for our health. We're starting to learn and find that out. So I incorporate functional movement. What's the best ways for you to move based on your lifestyle? The T stands for transform stress and mindset. I'm really big on accountability. It's a requirement. I sign off when I work with people is that, look, you have to want this more than I want it for yourself. And I really want it for you. That transforms stress and mindset. I know what can happen if you eat the right foods and supplements. I know the miraculous experience. But when you change the mindset and understand why you're doing that and why this has happened, it's a game changer. So I incorporate that into this process. And then E stands for elevate and empower. So that's the support, the coaching that I provide, whether it's one-on-ones, whether it's through messaging, whether it's through getting with a group. A good portion of my clients I've had men and women, but women who are dealing with things that I can't relate to as much. Like I've had clients who are going through perimenopause and menopause. But just going beyond the gender and looking at the individual, what do you need? I've been able to help. I have a client that 50 and was going through extreme perimenopause. And once I did the testing and tuned in, got on the right supplements, which was different from the supplements she was taking before, or the process. And within a week, all the symptoms are gone. She didn't have her, I guess her menses for almost 6 months, but we're into 2.5 months later. Her symptoms, she doesn't experience the symptoms still. She's not even on the supplements anymore. She just took them for 2 months, and her menses came back after 6 months. So I'm curious to, I understand what I was offering and basing on the testing, but it's like when you hear things like that, or when you hear a client who was extremely overweight, has gout, GERD, anxiety, on medication, in 2 weeks he loses 19 pounds, and he's off the medication, not because his doctor said, look, you don't need to take this anymore. And then we're talking 3-4 months later. And even though sometimes clients slip up or kind of that back off, they always know what to go back to. They have that foundation, and that fundamental. So again, that goes back into the elevate and empower. I have clients that call me 7 months later who may have fell off and say, look, I need to get back on here, or I want to thank you because this process has helped me to make better choices and decisions for myself and my family. So that's the dominant program. That's the long version.
It's beautiful. Who specifically do you feel called to serve?
Men and women 40 years and older. And I say that because I'm 50, I think how old I'm, 55. So I can relate to that. I can relate to the grind of taking care of your family, the 9 to 5, or for many of us, 10 hours a day. So that's the community that I reach. And a big area that I'm really focusing a lot on are men, dads, men over 40, because as men, we have a much harder time expressing when we need help. Men don't always feel comfortable talking to, unless it's another man, especially about health issues or where they feel weak or they need support. That's another thing that I learned. So men and women 40 years and older, but I'm really I'm doing a lot of work with men that tell me, like, wow, and finally I have someone I can talk to that's not intimidating. It's more like understands the struggle and the health challenges, and even emotional. I think emotional health is a missing component. And what I mean by that is energetic, emotional health, because I realized through my own journey, I realized that I had a lot of stuff happen during childhood that were not addressed, and that has a direct effect on their health. So that's another part of the dominate that I incorporate. But I do that with kid gloves, because not everybody, I'm not a therapist, but there are some things like plant medicines. There are flower remedies, homeopathics, different things that can help. I have clients who were on anxiety medication and depression medication who were able to wean off of that naturally, but we plugged in some supplements, as well as educating them on which foods do not help your emotional state, and patterns and whatnot. So
Wow, it's huge. What we eat and what we put in our body is so incredibly important. What would you say is the biggest lie that your target audience has been told that you've discovered is completely false?
Oh, wow. How much time you got? There's a few. I would say that one of the biggest myths is that weight loss starts in the gym or with exercise. I was caught up in that. I was a personal trainer. At one point, I was a fitness model. That's where I shifted career to that. And because I spent so much time working out in the gym, now I was eating cleaner than most people too. But it wasn't until that process where I started realizing that weight loss starts in the kitchen, not the gym. Because there's a lot of people who work out, who go to the gym and spend hours, and their body composition doesn't change much, right? And so it starts in the kitchen, and that's in the dominant program, understanding the right foods for you, which are going to help balance out your metabolism. Your body will lose the weight it needs to lose, right? And now exercise is absolutely important and required for health, but it's not the real needle mover in when it comes to weight loss or fat loss. The other myth is the weight loss industry makes it about the scale and the pounds and everything else. And what a lot of people, and I educate clients on, is that weight loss, there are certain types of weight that you want to lose and there's weight that you don't want to lose. Okay, you want to lose fat. That's the key. Want your body to use its own body fat as fuel, right? This is why people do keto to get in ketosis, use ketones and all those types of things. What you don't want to lose, you don't want to lose muscle. And when a lot of people do a lot of cardio, excessive cardio, right? When jogging was in aerobics and all these different things, those do not trigger fat burning. And you'll lose, in that case, you sacrifice muscle, you lose water, everyone loses water and gains it, but you also, which you don't want to do, but it's harder to lose fat doing aerobics and a lot of running and different types of things. You need resistance type of training. So that's with weights, bands, kettlebells, sprints. Those things tend to really help, especially if you're eating correctly, trigger your body to burn fat. So that's one of the biggest myths, is that, again, people believe weight loss starts in the gym or exercising. No, it starts in the kitchen. What you eat and how you eat that has more of an impact on your weight loss goals than just working out. And the older you get, or the more you age, then the more this becomes apparent. So.
How long does the process typically take with you? I'm guessing it varies, but.
So my program started at 90 days. So I feel 3 months is significant to make some real strong results. I'm result driven, and I'm always, if I need to adjust or pivot. So with the dominant program, if a person just ate the right foods, the meal plan that's designed for them, they're going to get results. I've never met anyone, whether my clients or other folks, doing something where you are eating specific foods, didn't have positive results in weight loss and how they feel, their sleep, sleeping better, motivation, or more inspiration, which comes from within versus outside. But I found that 90 days is really where things can really start to stick. So not only are my clients eating a specific way, eating certain foods a specific way, avoiding other foods, within the first 2 weeks is usually where a lot of people see significant change. And that change being weight loss, where, man, I've lost, it's not just the weight, but body fat percentage. And then from there, they start learning more about themselves through their food. They learn about the relationships they had prior to with their food, which a lot of times were not very positive. And then they can start experimenting and bringing foods back that's not on their plan back into the plan. And now, since they're tuned in with their body, because remember when I had that experience in my car, being in that present moment with my breath, I was actually present in the body in the now, right? So once you're in that, a client is there, they'll know better. They'll understand, have a better relationship with their body. They'll know it right away if they take a bite out of something, if they shouldn't continue. Oftentimes people are so used to eating what they're doing, they don't make the connection between this food is really causing me to have a histamine response or an allergic response or hives or something else, just because they've been doing it for so long and they were taking medications over the counter. So 90 days is the minimum. When I work with people, for the most part, it's a 90-day minimum. Some people require longer. I've had clients who have, their health is more challenged, so they may do a 6-month program. And then I have clients that will stay on for a month. They'll go month per month, and mainly to what supplements. I'll test them for supplements they should be taking, because oftentimes it'll change every 30 days, depending on what track they're on.
Wow. How can folks get in touch with you if they'd like to learn more?
Okay, they can get in touch with me through my email, website, or give me a call.
Very good. One more question. What has changed in your life or business since you started working with the Radical Company that you didn't expect?
Oh, few things. One is, Jess, Jason, Drew, Grace. There's been the support in the team and the giving you space, but at the same time, as a coach, or like, look, giving you a kick in the butt a little bit when you need it. A reminder, that's been powerful. And the fact that I've had many coaches and different things, entrepreneur, mastermind, etc. This group of individuals, I feel, not that the others didn't care, but you can see it that they really care about you and your success. And they go out of their ways to help you and to correct you. So I haven't had that type of support consistently. I can't really recall that. I mean, I have a mentor who's been there for a long time in my life, right? But on the level of, and he taught me business, but on the level, this is a whole group of people that's there. The other thing about Radical is writing that chapter. One of my passions is fiction writing. And years ago, I wrote a book. I had someone who claimed to be an entertainment manager and told me I had this super multi-million-dollar deal. Finished the book, 500 plus pages, supposed to be a movie, according to what they told me. And then it all fell apart. I lost, and not only did my confidence, everything go down, I lost everything. Lost my houses, my properties, money, because this person wasn't who they said they was, right? And so that was discouragement, and I stopped writing. And I went back into the corporate thing with not just being lost. And it took me a while to come out of that. And when I joined the Radical group and doing a chapter, it excited me about my passion of writing, of telling stories. So that's another part that I'm still doing, is I'm a storyteller. I use fiction, the hero's journey, to help people come out of that, whether that's sickness or whatever. But I bring that up because this Radical group and doing it that reignited that spark. Is that why can't I still help people with health, but at the same time, why can't I also tell, life impacting stories? So,
Ty Franklin, thank you for your time here at Radical TV. It was great to meet you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Shawna.